Hello and welcome to Pluribus Unum's Fireside Chats. Not as good as FDR's, but hey, it's something. No, I'm not running out of podcast ideas. What makes you think that? Anyways, there's no really big things to say in this section, so let's get right into the news. First, I'm going to talk about the big news story, like the biggest news story that happened over the course of this last week. And it is, of course, like basically, I think right as the last podcast got released, it was the day of the Bolivian election, or it was around the time period. You get my point. It happened like just in a time period where it's like it was just out of reach for me to cover last week, so now I get to cover it this week. But shock of all shocks, the thing that I've been saying for 10 million years has happened. The Bolivian left divided itself so much that now two right-wing candidates will be going to a presidential runoff in the Bolivian election. Rodrigo Paz and Jorge Quiroga. And in the other chambers, things are not as good either. In the Senate, Mas has been completely wiped out. And in the Chamber of Deputies, Mas has won a grand total of, drumroll please, 2 seats. And the biggest thing I can say is a very simple fuck you to Evo Morales. And fuck all these other people. Like, there are all these fucking other losers like Ali Vargas and like he runs that like fucking like news channel that starts with like a K. I don't know how to pronounce it, but like he runs it like it's like a Telesur like affiliated group or something. Like I don't even know if it's necessarily affiliated with Telesur, but like one of the big things that has been going on is that a lot of these accounts and a lot of people in the West particularly who are left-wing and have this huge admiration of Evo Morales basically have just read Evo Morales' statement on how he views this election and basically just jumped in purely on his side. It's like, well, fuck you guys. I have been covering this story for literally like borderline years at this point. I've basically been covering this ever since the coup. Like ever since the coup, I've been paying attention to what's been going on in Bolivia. And I've seen all this stuff happen. And this is nothing if not entirely Evo Morales' fault. It is 100% Evo Morales' fault that this happened. And I don't even mean in just like one small aspect. I mean in every sense of the word. This is all 100% Evo Morales' fault. Like, I covered this in a previous podcast before, but let's just go over it a little bit again, briefly, just for people who don't know. So, 2020, like 2019, Bolivian coup happened. Then, in 2020, they're like forced to do another election. Evo Morales is kicked out of the country, blah, 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 he's not there. So what ends up happening is that Mas, still trying to maintain the relative popularity, decides to try and run a guy by the name of David Chircahuanca to be the nominee. However, Evo Morales says, no, fuck you guys, I want Luis Arce to be the nominee. Luis Arce and Evo Morales both state very clearly, look, no matter what happens in the election, I'm basically not going to be part of the administration. Luis Arce is going to be his own president, I'm going to do my own fucking thing. And then he wins because one of the big things that Luis Arce did Luis Arce was chosen for a number of reasons. One of the reasons that everybody at the time basically it concluded was 100% verifiable was the fact that Luis Arce was more of a middle class, like lighter skinned person, not really attached to like the indigenous movement in the country. He was more of like a pencil pusher. That was more of his job. Like he was kind of more like the guy who kind of like ran things behind the scenes. Evo Morales was, of course, more like one of those more like charismatic, like populist figures, while Luis Arce, he had the ideas, but he was kind of, again, like, it's basically like the contrast between, I'm trying to think of an apt comparison for the United States, but I'm pretty sure even the comparisons I would make, some people would probably say that's a little bit of a stretch. I guess it'd be the difference between Ilhan Omar versus Rashida Tlaib. Like, Rashida Tlaib is, of course, way more well-known for like her more outspoken nature. Meanwhile, Ilhan Omar is kind of more apt to be like a bit more of like the legislator of the two. Meanwhile, Rashida Tlaib is more of like, I can rile up a crowd. What ends up happening is that since Luis Arce actually meant it when he said, I'm going to be my own president and Evo Morales is not going to be like affiliated with my government, you know, he like governs as his own person. So naturally there's like, it's not necessarily that he doesn't do a lot, because he does basically a lot of the same things that Evo Morales did, just to a slightly lesser degree. But I guess for multiple reasons, Evo Morales basically claimed, like, oh, well, that's not good enough. So then he claimed that Luis Arce was actually secretly a plant that was put into place to, like, destroy the MAS party from within, because Evo Morales couldn't control what Luis Arce was doing. So he basically just started, like, riling up shit in the country. Like, he told a bunch of indigenous people to, like, murder some soldiers of the military. Things got even more controversial when Luis Arce basically continued the statutory rape allegations that were going on against Evo Morales, and then Luis Arce ruled that term limits were going to be a thing again, even though Evo Morales did everything in his power to try to make sure that term limits were not a thing anymore. So what ended up happening is that Evo Morales used whatever power he had in the party as, like, their sort of, like, parental figure, because he was the party founder and he was, like, still a very popular figure within the party, to basically declare himself unilaterally as, because I think literally when he got kicked out of the country, he became the president of MAS. He basically just said, I'm going to kick Luis Arce. Like, he decided, he made this bullshit spiel where he was like, I'm going to, Luis Arce and David Choquehuanca, if you guys don't show up to this specific meeting at this specific day, you are traitors. But he said it, like, the day before, so it's like, we can't go, we're busy. So it's like, well, you guys made your choice, so now you guys are no longer part of MAS. And it's like, okay, what? And then he declared that they will not be the MAS candidate in the next election, and he will be the MAS candidate in the election. And despite the fact that, again, he was not allowed to run for another term, but he continued to run as if he was going to get another term, even though the court that presumably had a lot of people from MAS that he appointed, they didn't really do any, like, the case was basically done deal. Evo Morales couldn't run, and they did everything, and everybody in MAS tried to do everything in their power to make sure that there would be some form of conciliatory effort. One of the efforts was the fact that they wanted, like, okay, how about this? Luis Arce and Andronico Rodriguez to be his vice president. You know, like, he's a guy who's very affiliated with your organization. Hey, why doesn't he be the VP? Why don't we make him the new VP? And Evo Morales was like, no, not good enough. Then they're like, okay, how about this? How about Andronico? How about he runs as the MAS candidate? You know, and Arce's like, okay, I'm not necessarily opposed to the idea. I mean, I would preferably like to run, but, you know, I mean, if this is the way that we can settle this, we can kind of settle this. But it's like, no. Everyone's just like, no, I want to be the nominee. And they're like, okay, how about this? How about Andronico? He runs as a candidate outside of MAS. He runs against MAS. Will that make you feel better? And Evo Morales was like, again, no. Well, you can't do that. He sort of pressured Andronico to run an independent bid, and then immediately afterwards declared him a traitor to the cause because Andronico said, hey, I'm not going to be the candidate of the Arquista faction or the Evista faction. I'm the candidate of Bolivia. So, like, literally, to recap, Evo Morales forced a bunch of his own party members to basically, like, disaffiliate with the incumbent president, then force the incumbent president, like, because I forgot to mention, he basically made Arce so unpopular in the country due to his constant lying about him. Like, he literally lied and said that Luis Arce did a self-coup on himself. He lied that Luis Arce tried to have him murdered, even though if Luis Arce wanted him to be fucking murdered, he would have just let the guy who was going to do the self-coup kill Evo Morales, because that's what he wanted to do. The guy who committed the self-coup in Bolivia literally wanted to kill Evo Morales. That was what he wanted to do. And he wanted to do it with extrajudicial rulings. That's what he wanted to do. He just wanted to do it. He didn't want to wait for the judges to make any decisions on the court cases. If Arce wanted you dead, he would have just let the guy do it. But no. Evo Morales was like, no. He was secretly trying to murder me. Meanwhile, the court kept saying, hey, Evo, you're being charged with statutory rape. Can you, like, come and, like, defend yourself in this case? And he's like, no, I will not do that. Yeah, you're totally not guilty, dude. You're totally not guilty because you keep ignoring the fucking case. I didn't necessarily want to make this comparison, but really, Evo is kind of coming off very Trumpian in this regard. Like, you know, it's like, oh, all of these people are coming to get me, and yet literally every single step of the way, everybody's being super fucking fair to him. So again, to recap, he forces Arce to not be the nominee. He basically makes a lot of the MAS political, like base move away from the actual party, forcing the party to nominate Eduardo del Castillo, who literally is like a nobody. He's literally a nobody. He's more of a pencil pusher background guy than fucking Arce was. forces like the one guy who could have possibly been like a uniter in the party, Andronico, like a new fresh face of the party, away from all this drama, to like he forces him away from the party to run his own candidacy. So the left is like super divided in the country, and a lot of them just fucking got tired of it. Because like another thing that people need to note is that of like the ballots, like blank and valid ballots were over 1 million. Like at least 20% of the vote was blank or invalid, because Evo Morales specifically said, hey, fuck all the rest of these guys, we're voting blank or invalid, similar to what happened in Guatemala after like a bunch of candidates got kicked off of the ballot in that country. And what's even more interesting is that Evo Morales is even going so far as to claim that the reason why Rodrigo Paz won the election is because of him. Like, he's explicitly claiming that he has some sort of connection to Paz, because Paz happened to win in the areas that would have normally voted for Mas very heavily. And technically, of the two frontrunners, Paz is technically to the left of Jorge. He's technically to the left. And there's a let me explain. Okay, so like, of the two candidates, because like, I got asked a question, like, what was the difference between the two? It's like, basically nothing. Like, they're basically both like center-right-ish, like neoliberal type conservatives. Like, Rodrigo Paz's campaign slogan was literally capitalism for all. However, Jorge Quiroga explicitly says like he wants to like pardon Áñez, Camacho, and a bunch of the other like coup plotters. He explicitly says that he wants to like return Bolivia to have like connections to Israel. He explicitly says that he wants to like sell off like all of like Bolivian resources to every other nation. Like, he explicitly says it. Like, this isn't like him like secretly like, oh, I'm gonna say this in the background. Like, no. He explicitly says like, I want to open all of our public resources to investors around the world. Meanwhile, Paz is like, he says like, I'm gonna keep some of the public resources. So I mean, I guess technically of those two, Paz is technically the lesser evil. But even then, that's fucking nothing. That's fucking nothing. And this is the thing, Evo Morales did that, like, because one of the big things a lot of people have been saying, like, oh, why fucking Evo do this? Like, because he wants fucking power. That's what his end goal was. He wanted Arce in the position that he was in because he wanted to vicariously control the country through Arce. That's what he wanted. He chose to extend his term. Like, he explicitly said, I'm going to institute a 2-term limit on the presidency. And then afterwards says, well, I mean, I can run for a 3rd term, right? Well, I mean, I guess I could, like, end term limits. Why not? And then even after term limits get reinstituted, he's like, yeah, I mean, I could still run, right? Like, Evo Morales wants to be the guy in charge. He wants to be the face. He wants to be, I guess the direct comparison, he wants to be veneered like fucking Hugo Chavez. That's what he wants. Every single person who gets elected to a position of power like this, they want to be on like the fucking like walls of like schools for like 5 million years after they die. That's what they want. That is what they want. And Evo wants to be that, but he willingly sacrifice his own fucking nation to do that. Cause like, you really think these guys are gonna fucking like give Evo that sort of mentality? No. And I saw a lot of people, like, I mean, because, like, you know, there are a lot of people who say a lot of things. Like, some people say, like, oh, well, people turn away from this because, like, the left lost because, oh, they're sick and tired of socialism. It's like, no, they're not. Like, I mean, I'm sorry, they're just not. That's just not a thing. In Bolivia, the reason why it fails is because Mas doesn't have, like, a viable infrastructure outside of Evo Morales. Like, unfortunately, that's a thing. And that's a thing I've said for a million fucking years for every single left-wing movement around the world. Every single left-wing movement tries to build itself around one person, and it's like, well, then when that person fucking dies, what happens next? In America, like, a lot of the left-wing movement is kind of centered around Bernie Sanders, and to the point where still, like, a lot of people still, like, harp on to, I don't know if that's not necessarily true for the American left, because the American left is, like, we're all a bunch of LARPers, but, like, in a lot of, especially Latin American countries, like, really have this hard problem with letting a lot of older leaders go. Lula had to be touted out in Brazil in the most recent election. They had like Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner try to get run for the most recent election, and I think for like one or two other like Latin American like countries in the next couple of elections, like they want to tout like older people, so it's like they don't have like they don't have an inroad, unfortunately. Will Bolivia pull through? I don't know. But speaking of Latin American relations and pulling through, let's talk about Venezuela, because Venezuela is apparently going to be going through a possible issue because America has mysteriously decided to deploy military forces to waters around Latin America. Okay, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro announced on Monday that the deployment of 4.5 million militiamen throughout the country, assuring that no empire will touch the sacred soil of Venezuela, after the United States doubled the reward for information leading to his arrest and increased the number of troops sailing around Latin America and the Caribbean. Last week, the U.S. government confirmed to CNN they had ordered naval movements in the region to contain the threat from drug trafficking groups. On Monday, Reuters reported that 3 U.S. Navy destroyers and some 4,000 military personnel would arrive at the edge of the Venezuelan territorial waters within the next 36 hours. On Tuesday, however, a U.S. Department of Defense official said that there are currently no U.S. ships in the area, nor have the ships received orders to head there. It's clearly a lie. It's even gotten to the point where Nicolas Maduro has called China to basically say, hey, guys, keep an eye on the situation. Am I surprised? No. Remember, these are the same guys who literally tried to coup Nicolas Maduro in 2018, and during the campaign trail, Donald Trump literally openly said that he was trying to get rid of Nicolas Maduro, and they keep ramping up the fact that they're like it's pretty clear that it's gonna happen. As I predicted, as I said this, again, I pointed this out a million times before in the past, literally right before the fucking election, I literally point blank said, and if Donald Trump wins in this election, the United States will go to war with Iran, Lebanon, Palestine, Venezuela, and Mexico. We will go to war with one of those nations. And they've really been ramping up just this notion of fucking racism and lies about every, because the whole thing, this administration does not give a shit about the truth, and that's the problem. That's the problem that a lot of us really need to understand before we it's guys, are you sure you want these guys to be in fucking power? Because it's not even 2016 anymore. It's not even 2016 or 2017 anymore in regards to a lot of that stuff. Because one of the big things that a lot of people need to remember, it's well, the last generation wasn't that bad. Yeah, because he had people who were not just not just Democrats holding him from doing anything crazy, but literally there were Republicans in the administration that were let's not go too hasty, let's not go too far, man, let's not go that crazy, let's not go like that. Sure, they could sanction Venezuela as much as they want. Sure, they could bankroll the Venezuelan opposition as much as they want. Sure, they could bankroll paramilitaries in Venezuela as much as they want. But U.S. troops getting sent there, nah, we can't do that, bro. Trump doesn't care. Trump's just gonna blatantly lie about what's happening. Because this is the thing they've been doing again. It's oh yeah, the Sinaloa cartel is in league with Maduro. It's the Sinaloa cartel? What? The Mexican-based cartel is in league with fucking Venezuela's Maduro. Ignoring, a lot of the obvious hypocrisy in the fact that the United States has been aiding and abetting in the drug trafficking trade for a long period of time. Or that if they want to, decrease the effort of the illegal drug trade, maybe tax, regulate, and actually do anything to, actually mitigate the power of these cartels. Speaking of, another country that Trump is threatening to invade, and another one that I very much, been pointing to as well, is that apparently secret orders have been released that indicate that the Trump administration has, quote, directed the military to prepare for lethal strikes against cartel targets inside Mexico. 3 military sources tell us. The top secret planning order, issued in late spring, directs Northern Command to manage the attack plans, which are to be ready by mid-September. Though U.S.-Mexico military relations are broad and cooperative, any military action south of the border is considered extremely sensitive for both Washington and the Mexican federal government, and is rarely discussed to the public. This comes right after Claudia Sheinbaum basically said, no, fuck off, we will deal with our own situations, and America is, of course, threatening to invade. It's a thing that they've been saying for 5 million years, that they want to invade Mexico. And keep in mind, these are the same people who claim that the Mexican government is affiliated with the drug cartels, which clearly, let's just paint this into a little bit of a nice picture. So, the U.S. says that they want to strike the drug cartels in Mexico. That's what they say they want to do. many people in the Western media claim the Mexican government is bought and paid for by the cartels. What do you think they're trying to do? They're trying to kill Claudia Sheinbaum. Coincidentally for both Venezuela and Mexico, it's because large oil reserves that have slowly started, like, not really being affiliated with the United States. Now, remember, AMLO literally went to Biden to brag about how people were coming from America to Mexico to get cheap gas because their gas is so cheap because they have a nationalized petroleum industry. And this is the thing I really don't fucking get. Like, I get it because people are just racist. Like, a lot of people are just racist. Like, it's like, they literally just say, like, oh, well, the government, the Mexican government is run by the cartels. They just say that because they're racist. That's literally what it is for the most part. Like, it's just because they're racist. Because if you actually pay attention to Mexican, like, because this is the thing, like, this is the weird thing people just, like, because you find this really strange thing where, like, people will literally post proof that the Mexican government as it exists right now is not influenced by the cartels, does things that go against the cartel's interests, and does things that are independent and not like a true change for Mexico, and yet somehow that gets interpreted by these right-wing accounts who are obviously lying into being that they're secretly bought and paid for by the cartels. One being like, this is one big one that happens, like because like in the most recent presidential election, during like the most recent Mexican presidential election, the crime, like the assassination of candidates was really high, was noticeably high for like a decent bit, and people were like, oh, well, that's tragic. Claudia Sheinbaum and AMLO, they're like so soft on crime. There's so many, they killed their political opposition with their connections to the drug cartels. Like, the majority of the people who got killed were affiliated with AMLO and Sheinbaum. Their candidates were the ones who were overwhelmingly murdered. There was one video where like it was like a mayoral candidate in Mexico. She got shot, and that video posted like really heavily on Twitter. And then people were like, Sheinbaum is such a pathetic loser. She sent her goons to kill them. And I literally had to screenshot the video, like take a picture of that candidate, and literally like, hi, do you notice how she's wearing a brown, like a reddish brown jacket? That's because she's Sheinbaum's candidate. That's Sheinbaum's candidate. Here's her dead with her wearing that jacket. Here's her alive wearing that jacket. And here's Claudia Sheinbaum wearing that exact same jacket. Because Morena candidates basically have that like uniform where they can wear that fucking like maroon colored jacket. That's what they do. It's like kind of their shtick. Like they're kind of like their like quirk, like, you know, the MAGA hat. But like the point is, like, their candidates are the ones that are overwhelmingly attacked by how can you claim that these guys are controlled by the drug cartels when the drug cartels keep conveniently murdering them and not the opposition candidates, by the way? Like, conveniently the opposition, they don't get murdered a lot. But when these guys are getting, like, I don't get it. And it's literally just like, it's like, oh yeah, but like they literally, I covered this in the fucking last election where it's like, they literally said like they posted like a fucking like like a thing where it's like, did AMLO secretly get controlled by the drug cartels? And it's like, yeah, there's a reason why they worded it in that way, because they don't fucking answer the fucking question. Meanwhile, literal, actual people in previous administrations, particularly the administration of Felipe Calderon, his security minister, the guy, like, Felipe Calderon is the one who started the drug war, by the way. His head of security got arrested for his connections to the drug cartels. But again, no one's paying attention to those guys. But like, oh, it's AMLO and Morena, and they're the ones who are controlled by the drug cartels. Like, I literally just went on the fucking Wikipedia page for like the Venezuela one. I didn't know how to like fit it in to like that specific part, but like I literally looked it up just like a little bit ago, and it literally said like drug seizures under like Chavez's term went down. Like, it was like there were this many in 2008 and this many in 2012, and it's like, that's seemingly like it's underneath like a whole paragraph, like them trying to be like, oh well, the like trying to claim like, oh well, fucking like, oh, it's the drug cartels. But it's like that could like a person who already believes like, oh, these Latin American left-wing leaders, they're controlled by the drug cartels, they will see that message and then go like, oh, see, that's proof. How's that proof? Well, I mean, they're not seizing as much cocaine, so like clearly there has to be some sort of connection. Like, there has to be like they're letting the cocaine go free. It's like, or maybe not a lot of cocaine came through. Like, did you think of that? Was that a hypothetical situation? It's the same thing, like, with, it's like, people are just flat out lying. Like, it's just a flat out lie. Like, literally, like, fucking, like, Ecuador, Rafael Correa, under his administration, Ecuador became the safest nation in Latin America. Crime went severely down. Like, crime went down immensely. And then once he got out of office, magically, crime shot up massively. And yet, somehow, they're blaming the rise on crime after he left on him and not the people who are actually implementing policies that are making the crime go up. But anyways, hands off Mexico, hands off Venezuela, and while I'm at it, because we're going to get into the next topic, hands off Palestine. Speaking of, let's talk about Israel, because Israel has approved a controversial West Bank settlement project. Israel has given the final approval for a controversial settlement project that would effectively cut off the occupied West Bank from East Jerusalem and divide the territory into two. Construction in the E1 area has been frozen for 2 decades amid fierce international opposition. Critics warn that it would put an end to hopes for a valuable, contiguous Palestinian state. On Washington, a defense ministry committee approved the plans for 3,400 homes in E1. Far-right Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich, who unveiled them last week, said the idea of a Palestinian state was being erased. The Palestinian Authority condemned the move, saying that it was illegal and would destroy the prospects of a two-state solution. It follows declarations by a growing number of countries of their intentions to recognize a Palestinian state, which Israel has announced. Israel has built around 160 settlements housing 7,000 Jews since it occupied the West Bank and East Jerusalem. Land Palestinians want, lands that Palestinians have, this is their land. During the 1976 Middle East War, an estimated 3.3 million Palestinians lived alongside them. Settlements are illegal under international law, a position supported by the advisory opinion of the International Criminal Court of Justice last year. Now, this reminds me of a thing that happened like a couple months ago. Where it was like there was like a thing that happened where it was like there was a vote in the Knesset where the Knesset explicitly stated that they wanted to like colonize. Like it was an explicit like call for colonization of like the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, like explicit colonization. And I was told by 15 million fucking like Zionists on Twitter, look, it's just a ceremonial vote. Don't make a big deal out of it. It's just a ceremonial vote. Yeah. It was a ceremonial vote, huh? And, oh yeah, by the way, they're approving literally more colonization of the West Bank. Refresh my memory, how is Israel, like, again, like, this is the weirdest thing about all this Israel, like, situation. I really cannot fathom how any single rational human being can look at anything that has happened in the Israeli conflict, at the very least since October 7th, and walk away having a pro-Israel stance unless you're just a fucking monster. Like, unequivocally. Like, having a pro-Israel stance before them was already cringe, but, like, by this point, having a pro-Israel stance is just, like, fucking, like, absolutely, like, unequivocally evil. Like, I don't... Remember, after October 7th, the first thing that was said was, hey, if any of you people cover this conflict objectively, you are secretly working for Hamas. It's like, just started off on that bad leg, and every day since you've been just very much proving people 100% right that you are just fucking losers. I don't get how you could literally be, it's literally just like, look, it's just the Netanyahu government. It's just them. Like, oh, that's just so, you can tell, I'm struggling to put words together because it's like, I really just don't get it. Like, I mean, and there's a reason why. There isn't a reason. The reason why is either you're an ethno-nationalist and you're benefiting from whatever happens to this situation, you are a racist against Palestinians or Arab people or Muslim people in general, or you are like a Christian fundamentalist who is like believes that this is like going with your fucking like fake boogeyman stuff. None of the reasons to support Israel are based in any form of reason, logic, or understanding. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, that's the thing. None of my stances on this really came from my moral position. And granted, there is a lot of morality in it because, like, hot take, around 19,000 children at the very least should not die. Controversial stance, I know. and I say this quote unquote ironically, but that is literally what happened. I literally made a video where I point blank showed how a character in a comic book literally does the exact, like, a character who is in the comics objectively evil literally does the exact same thing in a comic book that Israel is doing right now. And I was told, like, oh, how dare you do that? It's like, I'm literally showing you that a character from a fucking comic book that is literally portrayed to be an evil genocidal maniac is doing the exact same thing that the state that you are claiming is some sort of moral arbiter is doing. Like, for real. It's like, you guys keep picking, like, this is the weird thing. Like, Israel has also just flat admitted, like, they're losing the propaganda war because, you know, hot take. Like, there's nothing you can do at this point. Like, this is the thing. It's over. There is no way you can unironically, at this point in the future, be pro-Israel and just not, like, every person who, I'm being serious, I've known people who were quote-unquote pro-Israel before this that either have just completely changed their viewpoints now that things have gotten this bad, or literally, like, just unequivocally just take the mask off and just go full on. Like, you, like, literally, I said this on a Twitter thing before, but like, it was like, you could hide it before, but now you can't. You literally can't. Now that we live in an age where literally you could just see unequivocally. I have seen so many dead Palestinian children. It's not even like, just, I've seen so many. I don't care what fucking, like, TikToker Benjamin Netanyahu pays $15 trillion to out of our GDP. I don't care what he does. I don't care about, like, that fucking, like, the Nelk boys. I don't know who the fuck they are. This is the thing that I don't get. It's like, oh yeah, we gotta get the young people back. I'm gonna find some irrelevant TikTokers and, like, fucking, like, irrelevant losers that nobody gives a shit about. It's like, really? This is your plan? This is your plan? But anyways, there's really not much more I can say. I was gonna talk about another news story, but I think we've all had our, like, we all know what story I was going to talk about another story regarding Israel that happened over the last week. We all know what it is, but I'm not going to cover that one. I think a lot more people have covered that one because that one's a bit more trendy. It's got a little bit more of the trendy words, especially considering the whole Epstein thing. But let's just move on to this smaller story. This is a smaller story, but this is it's big, but also small. Okay, so big because Donald Trump explicitly says that he wants to gerrymander the nation so that he has a 100-seat Republican majority. This, of course, comes during all of the fucking, like, redistricting drama where it was like, oh, he's going to try and redistrict Texas and now California is going to redistrict, and then he's basically going to try and get his sycophants in a bunch of other states to try and redistrict them. It's like, I really don't know. I really don't fucking know. All I know is, like, I don't know if this is going to get me, like downvotes from especially the people I'm going to mention, but, like, I guess I got to say it. I really do feel 100% vindicated on my vote in the 2024 election. For those who don't know and don't want to do the research, I was at one point a person who was, like, really hardcore and, like, oh, fuck the two-party system. Fuck the Democrats and Republicans. They're two sides of the same coin. It's like, yeah. And I still broadly believe similar aspects. I mean, Democrats are slightly better because, like, at least you got, like, 3 or 4 socialists elected. I don't know. Granted, they also squandered a couple of those elections, but hey, I mean, at least we got a couple small victories here and there. My first presidential vote, I voted Bernie in the primary, and then I voted Howie Hawkins in the general election, and I was in a swing state, so, you know, that was like, ooh, edgy, ooh. But then when the 2024 election rolled around, I just saw too many problems with the possible Trump second term that I was just like, and just seeing, like, the rest of the GOP, like, really capitulate to him, it kind of made me go, like, I don't know, maybe I might bite the bullet and vote with the Democrat this time. Like, I didn't like it, especially considering Biden was very complicit in the Gaza genocide, and then, you know, Kamala Harris came in the fray, and so I just made a video about all that spiel, but, you know, for a multitude of reasons, I really just thought, like, a second Trump term was just not a good idea. I saw he was doing, like, he was just openly running on fascism, like, literally just unequivocally, like, oh yeah, I'm going to take over the FCC. I'm going to defund all news organizations that are really critical of me. I'm going to try and like gerrymander. I'm going to get rid of mail-in voting. I'm going to give more money to Israel. Like, especially like with the Israel thing, like I was able to get more vindicated on that because like it's like Ben Gvir just openly said, I want Trump to win. It's like perfect. I'll channel that energy into this. I also wanted to make sure that there were more pro-Palestinian voices. I tried desperately to get more people who were pro-Palestinian to run for lower offices or push for the ones who were pro-Palestinian to maintain power, but people were more focused on like the fucking like Vanity Marianne Williamson bid and then like coconut tree Kamala Harris, that kind of spiel. The rest of the left was not interested in the very least even trying to get like a good situation. Like my philosophy was like Dem nominee win, like literally just like my philosophy was literally just like Dem nominee win, we can like fuck them over later. Like we can like protest against them, we can organize, we can like do this shit. Like it's like, especially if she's like trying to pretend like, oh, I'm the candidate of you guys, I'm your candidate. It's like, if you're gonna say that, then let's put the feet to the fire. Let's see how this works. Maybe we could arrest the fucking like fascist genocidal loser who's like doing really bad shady things. He's trying to criminalize trans people. I don't think it's a good idea. Maybe we should actually do something to help with that regard. And it was literally, again, harm reduction. I was basically 100% running on like harm reduction in that particular race. And while most people kind of like threw me away, like, oh, like you're just another loser. It's like, no, that was like a very big deal for that particular instance, because like that is coming from me, it was like that was like a whoa, like to me that should have been like an indicator, like okay, maybe we should probably listen to that. But like again, whatever. Like my opinion isn't like one of like the fucking billions of people out there. And then in every sense of the word, I'm literally getting everything that I stated proven right. It's like, oh, he's made the Palestinian genocide 10 times worse. He's literally ran on and done most of the bad things that he's done. It's like, well, shoot. I mean, yeah, Kamala Harris sucked, and she always will, but it's like, I feel 100% vindicated. It's like, yeah, I did a shitty thing, and I don't like that I did it. I wasn't like, I mean, I think, some people say like, oh, well, I wasn't like cheering, yeah, Kamala, whoa. I was like, look, it was literally like purely a strategic move. She was basically just like that. Like, I wasn't like posting like the coconut memes. I wasn't posting like the fucking like, all that stuff, whatever. I was barely enthused for the fact that she would be the president. I was just like, I didn't care. The options were either her or Israel's fucking slut. Israel's fucking cum slut. That was the two options. And before people go like, oh, well, Kamala Harris did bad things in regards to Israel too, or Joe Biden did too. Yeah, whatever. Yes, that is a true fact. Yes, Biden did bad things. But guess what? Netanyahu was backing Trump. That was what he wanted. He wanted Trump because Trump would let him do whatever he wanted. Like even Harris was like, she wasn't even necessarily like 100% like in lockstep with Biden. Would she have been that good? No. We would have probably had to force her to even be remotely better than even she campaigned on. She gave us crumbs. We were supposed to take the whole thing anyways. We were supposed to take the meal anyways. Which is why I was also trying to encourage more anti-Zionist candidates to run in certain areas, because there were like 15 like blue seats that were up for grabs, and then we clearly ran none of them because people were too focused on like Marianne. Oh, fuck off. Who cares? Fuck off. And now we're in the situation we are in today. So not much else for me to say on that. Last news story. Let's do like a little bit of slight good news. Okay, so if you paid attention to last week's podcast, you know that I literally made a reference to the fact that for some reason Maine is one of the closest seats to flip in the next election for the Senate, and yet somehow no candidate was running in that seat. There was no viable candidate running in that seat. Well, literally in that time, a viable candidate has just entered the seat. A man by the name of Graham Plattner, who is running he's kind of like we've seen a dime of dozen of people like him, because a lot of people have been trying to do like a campaign like him, where it's like this rural populist type candidate. Lucas Coons, Dan Osborne to an extent, fucking Nathan Sage. A lot of these candidates kind of like run like similar like ideas, like where they were like, I'm not your typical left wing, or I'm not your typical progressive or whatever, but they like run and they're like this like usually like a military backed, not military backed, but like they were like in the military at one point. And Graham is actually interesting because of a couple of interesting things. Like I mean, I wouldn't have mentioned him if he wasn't like notable. And the reason why I find him notable is like, for one, like, I mean, you know, some, like, I mean, he's got like a pretty detailed platform and like a lot of the stuff are like, you know, pretty standard, like stuff, you know, pass term limits, defend the post office, no more wars, end the war on drugs. The one thing that's notable for him is that he like explicitly endorses Medicare for all. Like that one is already a pretty rarity because like normally these guys kind of try to do like they say like, you know, like even Lucas Coons said like I support universal health care, and that was basically all he said. Like, yeah, I mean, you can tell he has the ideas, but the one thing that caught my attention on Graham is the one thing I've been basically using as my litmus test for basically any candidate I endorse for the upcoming election. Well, but the exception of one, but that's because I live in the States, so it's like and he's like, regardless, like for most candidates, for basically a majority of the candidates, the litmus test for me has basically been Palestine. And Graham, like the first thing that happened was that Graham literally said that he, like, the first statement I saw of him was literally just like, he says like, there is a genocide in Gaza and we need to end it now. And the thing that really got my attention, like, to like be fully on board, like, yeah, I'm on board to like at least be interested, like I'm on board like fully. I even gave money to him because of this one thing where it's like he posted a picture from his yearbook from the 1990s. And it's like a him, and he's standing like, and he's sitting there with like a picture, and it says like free, a couple of, like it says like free, it's like, let's say like free Tibet, free fucking, I forget the other ones. I forget the other one. I think one of them was Kosovo, if I remember correctly. But of course, one of them is free Palestine. Like, so it's like, damn, this dude's been in the game for a while, man. So it's like, damn. That's something. That is something. So yeah, I mean, I'm not typically like a fan of like saying like, oh well, like I mean, I'm only a fan of candidates, and this guy seems like a good candidate. If this guy's in like fucking Maine, and it's like, oh boy, we could possibly get at least 2 anti-Zionists in the next Senate. That would actually be interesting. We haven't had an anti-Zionist in Senate since James Aberzek. That'd be interesting to see. So anyways, with that out of the way, let's move on to the main topic of this video. I don't know if this is the main topic because I'm looking at the time code and it's like, I don't know how long I'll be able to stretch this out. But regardless, if you've all been watching this channel for a while, then there's a good chance you know that I've talked a little bit about left-wing YouTubers, you know, LeftTubers. Some positively, some negatively, you know, I happen to be one of those things. So it's like, you know, I have some opinions on some of the other people that I guess would be considered my, what would you call them? Like, compatriots? Not compatriots. I guess technically compatriots, but like I meant more like, what's the term? What's the fucking term? Fucking peers, I guess is the term. And, I mean, if you've been paying attention, you'll also know that my opinions of them have shifted a bit over the years. I mean, first of all, of course, like my ideological leanings have shifted. When I started this channel, I was more of like a social democrat, like more of like a mainstream, like borderline lib, like slightly more too cool for school to be a lib, but like, you know, not necessarily that too cool for school. And, you know, naturally, the ones I watched at that point in time are not going to be the same ones that I watch now. In fact, as I've gotten like just more into like this YouTube thing, I've kind of like drifted away from watching most LeftTubers just because, you know, I kind of just didn't want to get like influenced particularly by them in that particular sense of the word. I wanted to be more influenced on the ideas of like things. So like, I guess that's why I'm a bit more of a fan of like LeftTubers that are a bit more like focused on like information and like that kind of stuff as opposed to like punditry and commentary. It's like, I don't really care. I don't really care that this like random fucking dude from fucking New York is like speaking into a microphone. Now, you all might be saying this like, oh yeah, why should I care that this random fucking loser from North Carolina is talking? And then just go, yeah, I mean, fair enough. If that's not the kind of content you want, you know, that's just not the kind of content you want. And I've also, I guess, technically been in the industry for a while, so I kind of know some of the behind-the-scenes stuff in regards to certain things, and I kind of, like, understand, like, the algorithm a bit more. I kind of understand, like, you know, and seeing all these other LeftTubers kind of, like, do certain things kind of made me, like, lose certain respect for a lot of them. In fact, again, if you've seen my most recent video, you'll see that I have, like, very point blank name drop. I kind of point blank name drop a ton of left wing creators that I just don't like. like Brianna Joy Gray, Kyle Kalinske, Crystal Ball, Vosh, you know, Human Support, Vanguard, like, but mostly in the sense of like them jumping on that stupid like Marianne Williamson trend, seeing them basically sell out every single semblance of like independent journalism or like independent like ness they have, just kind of like run to fucking like Marianne Williamson, be like, oh well, Marianne Williamson's so amazing and so cool. It's like, oh yeah, she abused her campaign staffers, but shh, we don't care about that. Oh yeah, she said that fucking like antidepressants are like a scam and people who are on them are like fucking subhuman, but shh. Yeah, she said that vaccines are like fucking like cause autism and stuff, and teams up with Russell Brand, but shh, that's irrelevant. That's irrelevant. You know, she's important. She's like a relevant political figure. We need to run for her for the next nomination. It's like a lot of these guys jumped on like the stupid force the vote hashtag, which made me lose interest in them as well. Some of them have other controversies. You know, Vosh had his controversy. Ooh, and kind of knowing like the behind the scenes things and seeing like how like I like seeing it from my end and seeing it from their end. I do see like where elements are like going. It's like so the only way I can get famous and get like clout. Now I know what somebody might say. Isn't this jealousy? Not necessarily. No, not necessarily. But like just seeing like sort of how the kind of content farm freight, like how it works. Like I mean, I'll be real. I'll just name drop. I don't fucking care. Vanguard. The fact that the Vanguard is so fucking like popular and prominent is the one. They're the one that exception to like the whole not jealous rule. But like, cause like these guys do nothing. They literally just don't know anything, and they bullshit on a camera for like an hour or two, and it's just. They do no research. They spew nonsense. They get things wrong all the time, and these guys are like. Famous, and it's like the way everyone describes them is just worse. It's just terrible. It's like they're the TMZ of LeftTube. It's like, yeah, and TMZ's a fucking cancer. It's the terrible fucking thing. It's literally SlopTube, but that's literally what it is. You're just saying I like left-wing SlopTube. It's like, you know, I guess fair. Some people like, you know. We all can't eat we can't all eat our fucking greens and veggies every day. Sometimes we just like to eat fucking McDonald's hamburger. But like, see, again, like, I see how like, oh, these videos of mine are doing somewhat better because they're like, I don't know, more critical of like certain other YouTubers. Those are the ones that do well. But like, the ones where I'm actually like doing something constructive, doing something informative, doing something like that, those don't get any views. So it's like, well, that's a bit depressing. And I've even had like interactions where like I had like fans literally try to do the thing where it's like, oh, I want you to just make videos shitting on this person or this person or this person. It's like, or I could like do something different. I could actually do something I want to do. Like, I mean, I would much rather do like fucking like multiple like video essays of like fucking smaller left-wing political parties so that we can actually like, because like it's important. That's like something we can learn from. It's like, wow, this left-wing political party did this thing and it crumbled. Maybe we should learn a lesson from this. I'd rather do that than make fucking like, oh, what's my thoughts on fucking insert LeftTuber here? It's why I quit the fucking Thoughts On series for a while, because it's like, I don't really care. Unless there's something I can actually add and something informative and something interesting I can do, it's like, there's no point. Like, I don't want to make a fucking drama video of like fucking like, oh, like, even with the Vanguard, it's like, I'll shit on them because I don't fucking care about them, because like, I don't want to spend all my time shitting on them. After this video, they're out of my mind because I don't fucking care about them. I'd rather focus on something more productive. Like, I got a comment like a little bit ago because I made a fucking video a while ago, like a long time ago. Like, it wasn't even a drama video. It was like for those that know, I used to do a podcast subseries called Thoughts On, where I gave my thoughts on a left wing, or not even just left wing, but like a political YouTuber or like political pundit or whatever. It could be positive, it could be negative. I would like give like a little bit of a history, like, you know, some controversies. And like, well, this guy's content is kind of good, kind of bad. I don't really fuck with this content or whatever. And like, I don't really stand by a lot of them because, you know, a lot of them are old, and, you know, I've changed a bit since some of those episodes have come out. I've been thinking about going back and putting comments underneath all of them to like give my like most current thoughts on the people in these videos. Like, the only one that I really stand by 100%, I think, is the Michael Brooks video, because, I mean, no offense, but like, he can't really do anything more to sully his interpretation of me. Like, I can't really, like, there's nothing Michael Brooks can do anymore that can like make me go like, oh, this guy's kind of cringe, or like make me like him even more. Like, there's nothing he can do because, you know, he is passed on. It's like, man, of all the people I made thoughts on episodes on, and it had to be this guy, rats. I mean, I guess while I'm here, I guess I'll just read all the quote-unquote left-wing content creators that I have opinion, that I did thoughts on, episodes on, and, you know, get my opinion on them. Just so we're clear, right here, right now. Progressive Voice, is he still around? I fucking know. I didn't really like his content back then. I don't like it now. Jimmy Dore, he's cringe now. He's basically a fascist now. The Young Turk / Cenk Uygur. Cenk Uygur's, you know, a union-busting, like, crank, and he, like, basically, like, I love Donald Trump now. Well, he doesn't say that. He said he's in this weird sphere where it's like, on one end he says, like, oh, Donald Trump said, like, this one possibly slightly good thing, and then also he loves Josh Shapiro, and he also thinks that crime is really bad, and also I really don't fucking know. Nico House is basically a fascist now. Michael Moore, I haven't seen much of his movies. I was supposed to do that for, like, a fucking, like, video, but it hasn't happened yet. Grumpy Bertie Sanders, he disappeared off the internet forever, and I'm the one who literally made it so that was possible. I take credit for that, because that's literally what happened. He stole some dude's art for his profile picture, and then I contacted the author and said, hey, do you know that this dude has been stealing your art for, like, fucking, like, 5 years? And they're like, no, I haven't. I'll keep it. I'll talk to this guy. And then magically that account disappeared. Richard Medhurst, I'm surprised that the fucking, like, pedophilia allegations didn't ruin his career. Kyle Kalinske, his content just kind of, like, became not that watchable anymore. Crystal Ball, similar thing. She became Kyle Kalinski's wife, and I don't know, I guess the content got worse because of that. Glenn Greenwald, I don't know what he fucking does now. He's basically just, like, an antithesis of everything. Ryan Knight, I blocked him like a million fucking years ago because I was sick and tired of seeing his shit in my feed, so I don't really care. Max Blumenthal in the Gray Zone, obvious Russian bot is obvious. The Gravel Institute, they fell off the face of the earth because they ran out of money to scam at people. Michael Brooks, good night, my sweet prince. Humanist Report, I'll be honest, his content is kind of boring, so I just kind of stopped watching. Revolutionary Black Hat Network, they said some cringe things that are very cringe, like the fact that Compton J said that AOC made up a rape, so, you know, that's one thing. Bad Empanada, his videos are fine, I guess, for a vaguely ethnic guy. Hey, oh, hi, I did the meme, I get it, guys, it's the meme. John Oliver, pretty good, you know, I like his stuff, I haven't watched it in a while, but, you know, rather informative. Vosh, not a fan anymore. Sanderhall, even at the time, I was like, why would I sub to him? He's like a worse version of Vosh, so it's like, why? Also, his career's apparently fallen apart harder than mine. Hassan, I mean, I didn't like his content. I don't really like his content. He stole from me, so, you know, whatever, but I'm a copyleft guy, so I guess you can't steal what's not stealable. David Pakman, stupid Zionist shill. Amazing Atheist, I don't know what the fuck he does anymore, so I don't know. Second Thought, he fell off, I remember, like, he said some really weird things at the beginning of October 7th, and then, he also during October, like, not during October 7th, but, like, in the immediate, like, at one point, he, like, retweeted, like, Syrian, a girl, a person whose online alias is literally Syrian girl, who's literally, like, a white supremacist, so it's like, okay, that's interesting. Anna Kasparian, copy and paste what I said about Cenk and do it to her. Dylan Burns, you know, cringe lib. FD Signifier, I mean, his videos are fine, I guess. Not really my cup of tea, but, you know, they're fine. Brianna Joy Gray, she's basically like she carries water for fascists, so who cares? The Vanguard, low effort content, don't really give a shit. Kayla Maupin, but basically like a fascist, so whatever. I didn't even say anything about Jackson Hinkle for that same reason, so I don't know why I mentioned fucking Maupin. I guess it's because he's technically closer to being a communist than fucking Hinkle is. But regardless, those are the opinions of the thoughts on people who are left wing. For those who don't know, I might include I might include a link to this part of the video underneath all those ones, just so you can know where I stand on them now. But like, or I'll just go through and do the comment, you know, whatever. It doesn't really matter. The only ones I stand by are the 2 that I made this year and fucking like Michael Brooks, and I guess Don't I Made About Me, even though that one was me supposed to be trying to end the series. But the series is over now. I basically have no plans on doing any more episodes of that. Like, I mean, at this point, I don't really subscribe to a lot of, like, left-wing content creators. I only subscribe to, like, 2. Like, I mostly, like, use my YouTube to kind of, like, just actually be, like, not brain rot, but, like, necessarily, but, like, to, like, actually, like, get free from, like, the fucking, like, troubles of the world. And, like, actually do entertainment. I still watch a lot of political content, you know, because, you know, like, this is an interest of mine, but, like, you know, I do kind of try to, like, veer away from it. There's only really 2 upset. I prefer to do my own research, for one. I prefer to do my own research, come to my own conclusions about, like, topics. I don't really want to be influenced by other things, which is why if I do watch other creators, I usually try to watch, again, informative ones, not really pundit ones. Because, like, if you're gonna do something, like, actually try to teach people, try to educate people, try to actually, like, do things, like, educate people. I mean, like, punditry and stuff and, like, being, like, a theatrical person to an extent is fine, but, like, you know, but kind of, it's also the same reason why I guess I was more interested in, like, because, like, I think, like, because, like, Noah Samson made a video a while ago where it was, like, the various sections of BreadTube, and, like, he said, like, the news section, and he's like, I mean, they're just the news. I was more interested in those guys, because it's just, like, well, I mean, those are, like, it's, like, actual events that are happening, and, like, actual, like, things, you know, actually interesting things. Like, bro, which is more serious to learn? There's a genocide going on in this country around the world. 15 million are dead. We need to fix the situation now. Or, the Marxist interpretation of fucking, like, I don't know, The Amazing Digital Circus. That's the first thing that came to my head because I just watched The Amazing Digital Circus. But regardless, I guess I've dilly-dallied long enough. Who are the only left-wing YouTubers that I watch? Well, it's not even all the ones in the thumbnail, because, like I said, I kind of, like, go more just based on video, or based on, like, thing. I kind of just watch individual videos and just kind of leave it at that. With the exception of the 4, I guess I should list above. Like, I didn't mention John Oliver. I mentioned John Oliver a while ago. I didn't put him on this script. I didn't put him in the notes, because it's just, like, I mean, he didn't even register because, like, mainstream media, so it's, like, you know, whatever. But regardless, here are the actual left-wing, like, pundits on YouTube or whatever that I would say that I'm a fan of. The first one is one that I've been saying for a while, Overzealots. Overzealots, you know, he's made a pretty decent amount of videos about particularly, like, Israel-Palestine. And I just gotta say this right here now, a lot of these people, Israel-Palestine is, like, one of the main things that got my attention on them, because, you know, not a lot of people talking about it. Well, I mean, I guess there are a lot of people talking about it now, but, like, they were at least able to give, like, actual explanations. I don't even think Israel-Palestine is the thing that got my attention on Overzealots. I think it was, like, Latin America-related stuff, like, because he covered, like, something related to, like, a bunch of other, like, Latin American, like, left-wing leaders. But one of the things that's interesting about his format is that he kind of, like, is able to try and connect, like, internet drama to, like, actual real-life important things. Most, if not all of them, were basically trying to relate Ethan Klein and H3H3 to the recent situation going on in Gaza right now, because, you know, Ethan Klein is basically like, let's take this genocide and make it all about me. Like, that's basically what he's been doing. So it's like, hey, let's actually try to, like, shift it away from this fucking, like, stupid man-child and actually focus on, like, real things. But yeah, this guy's got some pretty good videos. I recommend watching them. The next one is Chris Kunzler. You know, that one was a bit similar. It was a similar thing. Like, I saw, like, his, like, video on H3H3. It's like Ethan Klein's, like, tepid Zion. I forget what it's called. It's like Ethan Klein's tepid Zionism or something. But it's like I liked it. I thought that was interesting because, again, it was like it was with the Ethan Klein drama that was happening and the whole, you know, genocide thing that was going on in Palestine. But, you know, people were claiming the Ethan Klein thing. But it's like they use the drama as a precept. It's like what the fucking, like, right-wing reactionary channels are, like, doing, but like not in evil. They're using, like, this drama to kind of, like, push for, like, talking about, like, actual broader political philosophy and, like, actual, like, relevant things to teach people about, like, what is going on in Palestine. And it was a pretty long, well-informed video, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. And it's very ironic that he was able to do that, considering, like, he apparently started out as a TikToker. So it's like, huh. I mean, it's kind of weird to see, because it's a thing we've seen a lot for a lot of like content creators, like where there's this one element of like short form content, but then a lot of them like shift away from the short form content. We saw that with the Vine migration, but like it's weird seeing this shift to being like a more long form content creator, and it's like Chris Kunzler seems to have taken that to the extreme because all of his videos are like an hour long. But it's like that he's British. He's a British guy and he went to school, so he's like informed on this stuff. So it's like, this is actually important. Not like me, you know. I mean, I'm not educated in this field. I do research on fucking Google. You get these big boys to do all the better research than me. And the last one that I watch consistently is Zateo. This is kind of cheating because it's like Mehdi Hassan's like news organization, but like, yeah, it's an independent news organization. It's like, I know that like it's good to have another independent media source. It's actually like an independent media source, not like fucking like guy in bedroom doing like spiel. Like, no, this guy's like actual news organization. He's got like a pundit. He's got like actual like credentials to like do all this stuff, but he's doing it for like actual good reasons. Like, there are other news organizations, of course, like, you know, Al Jazeera, Democracy Now, and those are other good sources that I would recommend watching, you know, if you have the time. I mean, I have the free speech channel on my TV now, so it's like, I could actually watch them. But, I mean, those are like, I don't really recommend, like, even as you watch them, I recommend, like, you know, doing the obvious thing, like, doing further research. Always, like, it's the same thing with me. Like, I always recommend, like, if you watch my videos, don't watch my videos and expect to, like, get, like, the full understanding of the story. Like, no. Always do further research, regardless. Now, you might notice that there are a lot more people on the thumbnail than those three. That's because, you know, I just wanted to give some shout outs to like some other channels, and it's funny hearing that from me. Like, don't want to give some shout outs, dude. Calm down. I'm a 2K sub channel. I'm not shouting these guys out. These guys should be shouting me out. Well, I mean, they shouldn't be, but because I'm irrelevant garbage. But you know, that's beside the point. But I just wanted to give people a chance to watch some more videos or whatever. I did this before. When I had like 1K subscribers, I literally shouted out channels that had like fucking like 59 subs, and then all of them fucking turned on me. And yet you wonder why I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of like the independent media sphere anymore. Alright, but anyways, here are some other ones. I've done basically no vetting on any of these guys. I mean, I guess some vetting, but like, you know, just because. First one, I'll just get out of the way, you know, whatever. Ben Empanada, I'll just say it. Ben Empanada, his videos are still relatively informative for, like, the long-form videos, and one of the big things that was a thing that he didn't get to see, because he, like, after he watched my video that I made on him, his second channel videos mysteriously got better, because that was one of my main criticisms of him in that previous video, that his second channel videos were not that good. They weren't that well researched, and it was like, that would have been, and my criticism was like, you should do more research before you do these videos, or shift your content so that you don't have to do more research before you do that. But then the second that Ethan Klein controversy came up, all of a sudden he's like, I'm going to research literally everything that I can, and he's like, he pulls out all the textbooks to just dunk on Ethan Klein. It's like, hey, whatever floats you, whatever works, my friend, it's all you need to do. Another one that I mentioned before that would be interesting checking out, FD Signifier. Again, like, I mean, his is more like media criticisms to an extent, but like he offers like offers pretty informative like political content as well. So, you know, I'd recommend checking them out too. One channel that I was gonna like see for a while ago, but then, you know, recently just got like, I guess I'll just say it, Spooky Scary Socialist. Spooky Scary Socialist made a video recently debunking every Zionist argument that has been made. And he does it in a way that is very informative, but also entertaining. Like, he puts a lot of, like, the funny haha memes. Like, you know, like, he made one segment of, like, debunking every Zionist argument, and one of them was, like, I hate my wife and kids. It's like, John Fetterman, what are you doing here? Get out of here. And then I saw his video on anti-communism, which was basically the same thing, but for, like, you know, anti-communist arguments, but, like, you know, in different jokes and different things. But, like, it was basically the same format. And it's, like, I guess that's good. I guess that is his format for his channel, you know, like, debunking every single, like, thing. Like, he hasn't posted a video in a while now, and he'll probably not post a video in a while, but, you know, whatever. The channel Best D Marks has some pretty good videos on Palestine. You know, I watched at least their second part of their PFLP video, and I watched their Greater Israel video, and I liked both of them. I thought they were pretty well informed. The one video of theirs that I really need to check out is their fucking Aeroflot video. I need to watch the Chris Kunzler one. No. I think I watched the Chris Kunzler one about the PLO, but like, I need to watch the one about the Aeroflot, because like, I really don't understand why there's so much like hate for Aeroflot, and I really need to figure out why. Like, I don't even know if that person like hates Aeroflot, but I'm just saying, like, I see a lot of people on the left that, like, really just seem like not like Aeroflot, and it's like are like Fatah, and it's like they seem fine. I mean, they're like, I mean, I guess there's some slight criticisms you can give to their ideology, but like, I mean, they're broadly fine, but you know, whatever. There's this recent video I saw from a newer channel called Black, Green, Red, and it was about the Democratic Party, and you know, I don't necessarily agree with everything they said in the video. Their video thesis is literally the Democratic Party can't be reformed. It's like, maybe the Democratic Party itself can't be reformed, but you know, I think the party itself, I mean, there can be good things in the party, but like, I don't know. But I don't agree with, to be clear, like, oh, this person that you're recommending doesn't agree with you 100%. Yeah, whatever. They're not me. Who cares? I don't fucking care. I don't fucking give a shit. I'm just recommending channels for you to watch. That doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be that deep. You could literally just watch them just for fun. Like, even if we don't disagree, it's like, even if we don't agree, it's like, whatever. Like, I think their videos were informative and actually, like, you know, well cited. You know, that's a leg above me. But like, my point is, yeah, there is merit to watching their videos, even if you don't quote unquote agree with everything they say. But those are all the ones I can really say for like informative stuff. Like, these are, but there are actually like a couple more channels, just purely because, you know, these are purely like entertainment, really, not really like informative or stuff, but whatever. These are, and I guess I'll just say it right here, music. They're all music. Seth Staten Watkins, he makes some pretty good covers of, he makes some originals and covers of some like left-wing music, particularly relating to Palestine and Ireland. So, you know, pretty interesting stuff. There's a channel called Monsieur Jack who does various piano covers of a lot of left-wing songs. And here are 4 channels that catalog a bunch of left-wing music for various reasons. And, you know, just, you know, you don't have to subscribe to them, just like check them out. You probably check them out. You all probably have checked them out because, you know, there's a good chance that, you know, you just have a couple of these songs in your playlist. 4A, 4B, Get Chan, Skrill, and General Lermit. Those are some channels that you should check out. And yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say on that. You know, check out these channels, or don't. You know, I'm not the boss of you. Yes, I made this video because I was running out of ideas. I didn't know what to do. But I wanted to cover the news stories, and, you know, I have to have a main topic, so whatever. Anyways, thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and click the bell to notify when a future video man comes out. And if you want more content from me, consider supporting me on Patreon.